Oh my God, we're live. We're in the green room. Welcome, everybody. It's DisrupTV. I'm here with my amazing co-host, co-founder, Vala Afshar, our producer, Elle, who you guys all know. And of course, two amazing guests we're going to introduce in reverse order of appearance. So, Rebecca, where are you coming in from? What are we talking about today? We're really excited.
I'm coming in from Boston, talking about China.
There you go. China tech titans. It could be the ones taking over the world next. Marcus, where are you coming in from? What are we talking about?
We're coming from Florida. I'm talking about technology.
Yes, and those algorithms might be the ones that take over all of us at the end of the day. But we'll learn more about this. Okay. But yeah, hey, we're excited to have you. And of course, we're going to kick it back to Elle for the count. You guys all ready?
Let's do it.
All right. All you, Elle.
It's 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us on DisrupTV. My name is Vala Afshar. I'm the Chief Evangelist at Salesforce and your co-host for the next hour. We welcome you to join us on X at DisrupTV show. Send Ray, myself, our distinguished guests, your questions live, and we'll do our best to answer them. It's my pleasure to introduce my co-host, Ray Wang. He's the CEO, founder of Constellation Research. He's the best-selling author of Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I see Mr. Wang on TV. It feels like every day. CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox Business. He's everywhere. And in my humble opinion, he's one of the top futurists to follow on X at RWANG0. Welcome, Ray Wang, to DisrupTV.
Hey, thanks a lot for having a show. I'm with Vala Afshar, the Chief Digital Evangelist for Salesforce. He's also the author of multiple books, including Boundless and Autonomous, the #1 sellers on Amazon, and The Path to the Future. More importantly, executives around the world follow and pay attention to every one of his inspirational and insightful tweets. And when he's not hosting, keynoting, or leading events at Salesforce, you can find him speaking on business TV outlets such as Bloomberg, posting thoughtful analyses on ZDNet. Keep in mind, he's one of the top keynotes in the world. People call me up all the time asking if they get a Vala on stage. And I always have to say, I really don't know. So, needless to say. But hey, it's not about us. It's about our amazing guests. And who do we have to kick it off today?
What an incredible honor for us. We have Marcus Fontoura, author of a new book, came out December 23rd, right before Christmas, of Human Agency in a Digital World. Marcus is a technical fellow, corporate vice president at Microsoft, currently serving as CTO for Azure Core. With over 20 years of experience in technology industry, Marcus is a prominent leader in cloud computing infrastructure, and he's held senior roles at other major tech companies, small companies you may have heard of, like Google and Yahoo and IBM.
Never heard of those guys.
Marcus is the author of a new book, Human Agency in the Digital World, Understanding Technology and Make It Work for You. Book came out again in December. And A Platform Mindset, Building a Culture of Collaboration, which also came out last year. So Marcus pumped out 2 books in 1 year. Ray, you and I, we need to step up our game.
I'm so behind. I don't even know. I share a book agent with the next guest. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just probably what I'm doing.
In his previous role at Microsoft, Marcus worked as the chief architect for Azure Compute and led Azure's efficiency team, responsible for architecting the infrastructure, often referred to as the world's computer. Before his time at Microsoft, Marcus was staff research scientist, again, at Google, and principal research scientist at Yahoo Research. Welcome, Marcus, to DisrupTV.
Welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you here. You're probably good friends with this guy named Mike Ehrenberg, but if you're not, don't worry about that. We'll talk to him about that later. So, but needless to say, as my point is today, everything is needless. We should be talking about agency. And I think you got a great point here, because at some point we lose critical thinking. We lose our ability to think. We lose our ability to make our own decisions. We lose our authority. And so maybe we don't know it, but have algorithms gone too far in shaping our lives? What says you?
Well, I think, like, of course, I'm a technology enthusiast. I love technology. I've worked in technology for over 30 years. And I think, like, overall, technology has done a lot for society. But the point of the book is to try to explain these algorithms a little bit better, so that people can have a better sense of understanding how things work under the cover, and be able to get more in an active role rather than in a passive role in terms of deciding which systems to use, right? So I feel a lot of people just feel as bystanders in the sense that, like, we have no control in which systems to use and how technology is really shaping our lives.
Yeah, your book, asks the reader to consider a simple but profound question. What do we want technology to do for us, and what will we do with it in return? So, as Ray alluded to, if there's a sense that this algorithm world has more control on our behavior and actions than one would anticipate, how do we course correct? Certainly reading your book will give us better understanding. By the way, the book isn't written for, super techie nerds like us three. And I say that affectionately. It's so that anyone can, have a broader, deeper understanding of the technology around us. But advice for people who want to maintain agency and by agency meaning control their destiny and have more control of outcomes and their quality of life. What can we do?
Yeah, I think the key point that I try to convey in the book is not technology per se, but like how we apply it in our daily lives, right? Because if you think the same algorithms and the same technology can be used for something like connecting us to our new job opportunity in platforms like LinkedIn, but the same algorithms behind social network also can have like negative effect in teenagers' mental health, for instance, right? So, and we are talking about broadly about the same kind of technologies and algorithms. We are talking about connecting people online to social networks, but some applications of social networks have very positive effect in society, while others not so much. And as scientists and people behind developing these algorithms, like when you are building these things, it's very hard for us to predict how these things will be used. And one of the things I try to do in the book is just provide more context of how these things really work, so that people have more really agency in the sense of like understanding what they are really using. And I often joke that, like, like I feel economists and lawyers do a better job in conveying to society like what economics really is, right? Like if you read the paper every day, you really understand what is like an interest rate, and you understand the effects of supply chain curves and all that. The lay population does, right? But if you go up, talk about computer science, even though maybe the algorithms that we built have more profound effect in society than maybe some of these economical concepts, most people really have no clue like how these things work under the cover.
That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing that. I mean, we don't understand it, and the more we automate and the more we do that, in the name of efficiency, what does that do? I mean, how does that change the way we perceive the world? Especially when you think about, that's these are tools that are supposed to be helping us, but are they actually hurting us?
Well, like hopefully it's a positive net effect, right? Like I want to believe technology is really helping us, but we really need to understand that computers were originally introduced to help us with efficiency. The first computers that were invented, they were really replacing what we call human computers that were just men and women, ordinary men and women doing by hand calculations. And a lot of these calculations were done like to solve math problems for like the Manhattan projects and other projects, right? So, and then like when we introduced computers, computers of course could do like 5,000 more faster calculations than human computers could do. It was a huge efficiency gain. And since the introduction of the ENIAC, that was the first computer, we have seen like the technology gain scale and more, and we have more algorithms and more things that computers can do for us, like from shopping to delivering groceries in your house and selecting which movie you want to watch, and all those things are super positive things that have a positive effect in your life. On the other hand, like if you say like, oh, I can build you an AI agent that will teach your children how to get a perfect score in the SAT, would you want that or not, right? Like maybe you still want to have some say in the education of your children and be involved in it. Or if you had like a robot that can take care of your elders, like maybe that's not what we want society to do. And I feel that if you don't have a more engaged society that really understand what technology does, we are risking just putting yourselves in the hands of like people that are building the technology that not necessarily have the same incentives as us as a society members want technology to deliver for us.
It's amazing. Just listening to you go through the history of it, you know, it makes you reflect. Like humans were called computers, and then we built computers to give to humans, and now computers use computers to execute and create outcomes. So that whole evolution is in our lifetime, in my lifetime, which is amazing. How do you audit? How does an individual audit their digital lives, all the different channels and all the different gadgets? And I'm playing with a smart glass now that has my company's agentic capabilities embedded in the glass. So I'm actually executing tasks by just talking to the glass, which is a wearable agent, which is really, it's and I have digital native children. I'm a digital immigrant. I wasn't born mobile, social, in the cloud, but my 15-year-old is a digital native. He was born with all that technology. So he has a different way of learning, different way of consuming, different way of interacting. And he's probably the most hyper-connected. And my daughter, who just graduated from college, if you graduate 2026 from university, you've had 4 years of GenAI experience at the university level. The first generation of college graduates that had GenAI throughout their entire curriculum. So how do you audit all this stuff to know whether you have the quality of life that you should be having, like holding a physical book versus, I like holding your book in my hand versus, digitally reading it on my phone. How do you do that? How do you give advice to people that need to do an audit?
Yeah, the way I think about it for myself, right? And I think this is very personal, but the way I like to think it for myself is, what are the things that I believe add value to my life, right? And what are the things that I do because I have to do that I wouldn't mind if they are completely automated for me, right? So I think, like, for instance, spending time with my children and my family, taking care of my parents, the time I spend mentoring colleagues at work, the time I'm spending thinking about which problems are relevant to solve. All those things are super relevant my time because I feel that I'm adding value. On the other hand, like if I'm trying to solve a problem and I have an equation to solve, and the computer can solve the equation for me faster and more precisely than I can do, right? Why not, right? So, and then I think taking this personal account of like which tasks really amplify our humanity and which tasks we do because we still don't have a robot to do for us. I think this is a good way to go about it, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that you published 2 books last year clearly means you're devoting your. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm going to explain that because my first book, A Platform Mindset, I wrote it originally in Portuguese the year before, and then it was
Oh, I
translated.
see. Okay. Still within 2 years, 2 books. Obviously,
Yeah.
you're spending your time trying to amplify and share your knowledge. And I think it's legacy work. I know how difficult it is to write long form, a 70, 80,000 word book. So not only taking care of your children, your family, mentoring and sponsoring colleagues, and of course, you're the CTO of the world's computer. To be able to prioritize your time and energy on high value tasks and then have a cognitive transfer of low value tasks to software and AI or whatever it may be, I think that's great advice. I think we all should take advantage of auditing how are we spending our precious 16 hours that we have awake per day. Go ahead, Ray. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, related to that is a question really about the understanding of technology with leaders. It's one of the biggest challenges. We just had 120 public CEOs and board of directors at our conference, and they were hungry to know what they were trying to do in technology, but that doesn't seem to be the case in terms of the mainstream. How do you address that? What do we have to do to get that?
Yeah, this is a great point, Ray, because I really feel that we are at our best when we have leaders from the government working together with society and with the technology companies to really bring something innovative and to society. And I feel a lot of the times we really don't think through the technological aspect of it, right? So if I think like, for instance, the use of social media, for instance, is one thing that I think negatively impacted society. The same thing with like spread of fake news and whatnot, right? So this is something that could be much better addressed if you had like more engaged leaders to begin with, when we started to see the early effects of social networks in society, and we didn't have. The other thing like that, it's an example that I cite in the book, is the work that, for instance, the Gates Foundation does with bringing technology to address global health, right? So that's a very positive effect, that we have like a private sector working with world leaders and technologists, like building really innovative technologies that can have a very positive direct effect in the people's lives. So I think there is no shortage of examples like that could be done. And I think like if once you have more engaged society and more engaged government, thinking more strategically about applying technology for actually addressing problems that are relevant to us, you will see a huge leap forward. Because now I think we live in a time that's unprecedented in terms of access to compute resources, to data, to algorithms, and so on.
I want to get back to the agency because, well, you're one of the top technologists in the world working on hyperscale, incredible compute, and you've got hundreds of thousands of companies that leverage your platform and your technology, and you're the lead on this. And we've talked about AI a little bit, and as you think about the waves of AI innovation just in the last decade, and adoption of predictive use of machine learning, generative use of machine learning, agentic and physical with drones and autonomous vehicles, and I just showed you smart glasses and humanoid robots, and these are multi-trillion-dollar markets arguably in the next decade. One would argue, have we reached a point where up to recent years it was a human-led machine assist world, and now in the very near future it's a machine-led human assist? And how do you preserve agency in a world where intelligence and scale and reach is at unprecedented rates with adoption of AI in business? How do we maintain agency? How do we ensure that we still feel we have control of our destiny?
Yeah, I think we have to have this very clear stance that we build technology to empower humans, right? Even if I think about Microsoft, right? Like our mission is very clear, is to empower humans to do more and achieve more. And it's an even more precise mission: empower every human to do more and and achieve more. We don't want to empower computers to do more and achieve more, right? Like the main point is humans. And I think there is countless examples where we see AI allow us to do something that that is extraordinary, right? Like people write plays of ancient texts that were like inconceivable as to think like that could be done before. And so I think like I dislike the idea of like we building intelligence for the sake of intelligence. Like I think it's very uninteresting to me to just build HAI with the hope of like eliminate every possible job in the world. To me, that's like not a non-problem that we are trying to solve. While there are so many interesting problems and relevant problems that we need to solve. So. And one thing that it's a good example of that is like if you think about even Demis Hassabis and DeepMind, right? Like when they are set to solve AGI, but one of key points that Demis is bringing all along is that we want to solve problems along the way that are relevant for society. And AlphaFold, for instance, is an amazing contribution to society. We can solve the protein folding problem and have like a huge impact in health and disease control on the way to actually building AGI. So I think like AGI shouldn't be a goal in itself, but should be producing these intermediate results that really improve the quality of our lives in the present.
Awesome. Agree.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see shifts along the way. I mean, there are good pieces, there are bad pieces. You're talking about GenAI improving value producing work, or VPW. Talk about the concept. How do individuals and companies use that to measure productivity?
Yeah, the VPW is not like my concept. It's like I borrowed it from a Toyota production system. Like
it's still TPS.
Yeah, it's like a lean manufacturing concept. So basically, value producing work is work that is directly related to the company bottom line, right? So like if you're a software company, like writing software and testing software is value producing work. Doing payroll is not necessarily value producing work, right? And this name is kind of tricky because you might think, oh, it's just because it's not value producing work, it has no value. No, every work that we do in the company has value, because if not, we would not be doing it, but it's not directly adding value to the final product. And the goal is to minimize all this overhead and maximize the value producing work, right? And then I think technology can have a huge impact here, because we're saying about all these uses of AI to reduce toil, right? So let's say if I can automate doing my payroll, if I can automate a lot of the management tasks that are like time consuming but necessary to do, then I am freeing up people's time to do really creative work that will contribute to the company's bottom line, right? So I want to increase the amount of value producing work being generated.
Makes a lot of sense, though. This is Marcus Fontoura, author of Human Agency in a Digital World, his book on Amazon. Thank you so much for being here, Marcus. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, I really appreciate being here. Thank you so much for the invitation, and love talking to you guys.
Congratulations on the book. Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Responsible for architecting the world's computer. Wow, what a great! I want to be at a dinner party. What do you do? Yeah, you know, I architect the world's computer. That's pretty awesome. I'm sure our next guest has amazing stories that she shares at dinner parties. Rebecca Fannin, author of The New Tech Titans of China. The New Tech Titans of China remains the go-to guide for those seeking to understand China's sweeping tech ambitions, the powerful companies behind them, and the bold strategies they're deploying, from chip self-sufficiency to surveillance tech to AI leadership and green innovation. Rebecca is a recognized expert on global tech innovation, a journalist and author of 5 books. Ray, we got to catch up. My imposter syndrome kicks in when 5 books, including her latest one, The New Tech Titans of China. At CNBC, Rebecca is an online contributor to news features and DisrupTV Report. Her recent cover story of Newsweek explores China's gains in electric vehicles and the impact on national security. Rebecca's forward-looking and resource-rich books, Silicon Dragon, Startup Asia, Silicon Heartland, and Innovation in Emerging Markets, have launched her as a commentator and public speaker, as guest on BBC, Bloomberg, Fox News, and NPR, and quoted source in New York Times. Rebecca has spoken at South by Southwest, which we were talking about before we were aligned, and Brookings Institute, Asia Society, Harvard, Yale, Oxford, all the important places with big minds. As a Forbes columnist for 10 years, Rebecca has also written for Harvard Business Review, Worth, several thought leadership publications. Welcome back, Rebecca, to Disrupt TV.
Hey, thanks very much. Happy to be here.
I had to cut your bio short because we only have an hour. You do a lot. A lot.
I thought you were never going to get finished reading it.
Well,
That was
we
the
try to cover it.
abbreviated version. That was the abbreviated version. Go ahead, Ray.
We try to hit the
Yeah.
first 15 minutes with your bio, but that wouldn't be fun. So, but hey, we're happy that you're back here, and I think we're seeing a lot of attention on China. And of course, you've updated this new edition of the book, Tech Titans of China. What led you to update it? Did something massively change since editions? Something that you said, I've got to go back and change this given geopolitical conditions or new technology advancements? What was the driver for you?
Well, you named just a few of them right there, Ray. It's definitely a fast-moving story. It needed to be updated. The prior edition was 2019. There's been so many changes in China tech and venture capital. It was crying out for an update. And this new edition is a total rewrite of what the prior edition was. So I wasn't actually expecting such a big task of this second edition until I really got into it. And I realized, oh my gosh, every single sector has changed dramatically. And the China tech story continues to be so engaging. How can you not write about it?
That landscape has definitely changed, and then you see like the players have changed, the technologies they're going after change, right? And it's a wide range, right? You've got everything from EVs to space tech to biotech now. I mean, it's a completely different landscape. So
Absolutely, yes. It's an overview of what's happened in the tech landscape, from batteries to drones to semiconductors to venture capital. A huge change in venture capital, as we know, with the split in U.S. and China venture capital. Like U.S. and China are the two major tech powers in the world. So this makes a very dramatic story of when you intertwine it with geopolitics as well.
For sure,
Very
for
much.
sure. Let's stick to the venture investing and cross-border China-U.S. Investing. What has changed? What's the most important change that you've noticed in the last few years?
Well, this is the split of Sand Hill Road from China. The Sand Hill Road players have all left China, and they were very active in the first decade of China tech entrepreneurship, and they made a lot of money from investing in Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent, ByteDance, Xiaomi, Meituan, etc. And then geopolitics intervened. There was a crackdown on U.S. investments, U.S. VC into China, and these firms reacted very swiftly. They carved out China as a separate venture unit with a separate team and separate funds, separate names, strictly for China, China for China, U.S. for U.S. And that went down the line. Almost every single firm that was very active in China previously, no longer.
Yeah, I mean,
Huge shift, and it's the last 5 years. This happened in the last 5 years.
Yeah. No. The way that they're looking at funding, the way that you can only report. I mean, the government regulations are pretty huge. So, but given those changes, right?
Yeah.
Does the cross-border China-U.S. venture investing ever come back? And does China ever surpass the U.S. on tech and innovation? Especially, what sectors would you see?
Well, I do hear rumblings of U.S.-China tech coming back and the collaboration coming back. But it really hasn't happened yet. I just hear rumblings of it. I hear people talking about it. So that's a signal. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's just a signal. So I think that could be a positive thing, actually, because we had this cross-border collaboration that helped global innovation overall. And then we had the split of each nation going after its own technology waves and developing its own technologies. And that could be a negative when you have too many different types of standards of technology. That's a huge negative.
I remember having Dr. Kai-Fu Lee at one of our company events, probably around 5 years ago, when he authored the AI Superpowers, US versus China.
Sure.
And certainly all of us remember last year's AI moment with China, with the DeepSeek moment.
Oh, yeah.
What was the impact? What, based on your research and ongoing conversations, what was that moment, and why was it important for both countries?
It was very alarming for Silicon Valley because DeepSeek was created with almost no venture capital money, really very, very little. It was all self-funded, actually. And so when, in the meantime, we were seeing these hundreds and millions of dollars of investment going into large language models and new AI agents. And so it was a question mark for Silicon Valley and the US. Are we paying too much? Are we in a bubble? Should we be learning something from this experience of DeepSeek, which was so efficient and developed such a high quality model with very little of the kind of venture capital that was going into the large language models in the US. So it was a moment for sure that was very alarming for Silicon Valley. And I think this is still playing out. I think also in China, we've seen many more DeepSeeks emerge so that one could do it, then others can do it. So this is an area to watch for sure.
I think two moments I distinctly remember. The year before, when Musk took over X with the kitchen sink walking in and 8,000 out of 10,000 jobs. So that kind of, was a message to the tech industry that they may be up, and then the DeepSeek moment. So those two moments distinctly, I think the vibrations may still be felt in terms of, reassessing our current situation, where we invest our dollars.
Yeah, exactly. We should call it the deep sink moment.
So we can see that, and that creates some shifts, right? If you think about, what's happening in terms of the perception, in terms of U.S., Silicon Valley, China, if you're thinking about Shenzhen relationships that are going on there. And so what's changed in your career as we've gone from highly collaborative to now highly competitive? Does that change your outlook? Does it change the way you report? Does that change what you can do?
Oh, absolutely. This has gone from an area where there was a lot of access to information and data and people to now, today, people being hesitant to talk, hesitant to be interviewed, fearful. There's been backlash against China. And my own career, this is a very entrepreneurial career to begin with, but add China to it, and the cycles are whoa. So I've had to adapt very rapidly from going to China many, many times and doing reporting in China and holding events in China every year in Beijing and Shanghai and Hong Kong and elsewhere, Shenzhen. To not doing that, hardly doing that at all. I'm still going to Hong Kong and southern China, but not so much into mainland China. And I've also pivoted more to Silicon Valley stories and the spread of Silicon Valley across the US and trying to tell the China story from more of a US perspective instead of just being a grassroots in China. So it's been very challenging, particularly with the interviewing, the access to interviewing, because when I wrote Silicon Dragon, the first book, which came out in 2008, it was no problem to interview any of the leading venture capitalists along Sand Hill Road, and I interviewed all of them basically, and including their tech startups, Alibaba and Tencent, Baidu. I interviewed all the founders, and it was no problem to interview them. And now that access is iffy. And you can talk to numerous experts about it, but when you get into the deeper dive, it makes it extremely tough.
Sure, sure. Rebecca, so I look at my social feed covering a variety of technologies, and I see all the time, every day, I see like BYD, autonomous vehicles, incredibly luxurious interior, incredible low cost, flash charge, go from 20 to 80% charge in 5 minutes. You don't touch the door. You just bring your hand to the door, and you do this, and the door opens.
Yeah.
Like, unbelievable innovation, unbelievable supercharging. I own an autonomous vehicle that's electric, and I can't charge it fully in 5 minutes. So in my mind, I'm thinking, what would happen to car manufacturers, specifically U.S. and not just Detroit, including Tesla, if the U.S. allowed China to sell EVs here? What would you think would happen? My sense is there'll be a lot of interest.
Oh, yeah. I think Detroit could be in big trouble if the Chinese EVs came into the market because not only are they lower cost relatively, but also produce very high quality, and they're very appealing to consumers. So Detroit now is mainly a manufacturer of pickup trucks and
we like our F-150s.
What?
We like our F-150s.
Yeah, okay, sure.
He doesn't have one, but I know he loves it. Yeah.
But I think it's what if the American consumers began saying, we really want the Chinese EVs. We really want these. We look how great they are. Why don't we have them? Why does every other market in the world have these except the United States? And we're effectively banning them through tariffs and over the connectivity issue, because these EVs they can collect data. The fear is that as they're going along the highway, they're recording all kinds of things that could go back to China. So that's, if you hear that from the DC side, the Washington DC side, that's the fear. Now, from the consumer side, I think maybe that's not such a big deal, that they would love to have these. Even the Ford CEO said he loves the Chinese EVs. He drove one around for a year and didn't want to give it up. So we know they're very popular. And also, Tesla is in trouble. Yeah, Tesla is no longer the leading EV in China. It's been passed by BYD, and BYD is now the number one electric vehicle maker in the world, and it's from China and growing very fast. Tesla is under pressure in China today.
And I would think the fact that Musk gave away all the patents for free, he welcomes competition, because globally EVs probably make, I don't know, Ray would know this, but my guess is 13-14% of all new cars globally. Now, if you're in Norway, 90% of new cars are hybrid or electric, but globally, I'm guessing it's still low teens. So competition, I think, is a good thing, because, if you're thinking about sustainability, Earth, and just better technology, you would think, and especially autonomous capabilities, you want the electrification of cars. You want it to be software, not hardware. So, I would think there's companies like Tesla would welcome competition.
Yeah.
Well, in China, is 50% of the cars sold now are electric vehicles. 50%.
Wow, 50%. Wow.
Yeah, and China is the world's leading electric vehicle producer by far.
Sure.
And so, along with that is the supply chain of the batteries and robotics and factories, and that's being cast as a national security threat. That China's huge dominance of electric vehicles is a national security threat, because with it goes this whole supply chain, the rare earth minerals and the huge factories, and we don't have that. We don't have that infrastructure in the United States.
Right.
No, we're not, or nor are we building it, which is part of the problem, right?
Well, that's true. We're not building it. We're trying. I think in some cases we've made some attempts.
But let's talk about how Chinese governments are actually involved in venture capital, and how this is important in Silicon Valley's view on continued investing. We bring up this question mostly because we've been told that they've left China, but there are also other types of relationships that are up there that are actually happening that may not necessarily be your traditional VC type relationship.
Well, this is another one of the big shifts in China investing and technology, is that the government has become much more involved in startup investing. And when the Silicon Valley VCs left, it left a big gap in the market. And the Chinese government has stepped in, and I mean, they were actively involved in creating these huge funds, multi-billion-dollar funds for semiconductors and for AI and industrial tech anyhow. But then on the startup side, they became much more involved on the tech startup side as well. So now the issue is, whether they are really good investors. Can they do the same kind of work that the Sand Hill Road experts were doing? That's a big question mark.
Were any of those guys experts, or they all actually did they had a little bit of luck on the back end? No, I'm just
they
kidding.
were capitalists.
Portfolio construction was pretty hard. So we do see that.
So I think recently David Sachs stepped away from the czar of AI with the current
like a few hours ago. Was it a few hours ago?
Yeah, I think a few hours ago. I think the 130-day or whatever, however long it was, the duration for serving in that capacity. Let's say Rebecca is now appointed the czar of global competition, czar of global competition. And our government comes to you, Rebecca, and says you have full authority, full influence. Please help us, U.S., reduce the growing lead that China has when it comes to batteries and energy and EVs. What would you suggest that we do in the U.S. to close that gap?
We have to reinvest in our industrial heartland, and we have made strides toward that. We saw the carving out of the Rust Belt, the jobs that went to China.
Yeah, your last book was talking through that. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, Silicon Heartland. I wrote about that, and yes. I wrote about the need to get into tech innovation as a solution for these economic problems of the heartland. So we. With semiconductors, that's one area where a lot more money is going into that. A lot more money is going into AI. The federal government has gotten much more involved in tech than previously, and even taking some ownership stakes. You could say, is that a good thing or not? But at least it shows some action. And we can't sit still. We cannot sit still and let this continue to happen. We have to do something. We have to be more proactive with our tech leadership. And we have the creativity. We have the imagination. We have the talent. We have all of that. We have the resource, and we have the capital. But we're not applying it in ways that can help the U.S. compete with China more effectively.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the big issues.
Great advice. You're a prolific writer, so can we have some breaking news on our show? We always look for breaking news. What are you working on next? What's the next bestseller in the making?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
What should our book agent know about?
Yeah.
Well, I'm toying with some ideas. Book writing is rather addictive, and being on the publicity, I'm on the publicity tour right now. I've been in Boston, Silicon Valley, New York, Columbus, Ohio, Austin, Texas, and many more markets to go. So I think, I'm toying with a couple ideas. I don't want to just write history. It's been interesting. I've written 5 books since 2008. The first was 2008. It's 5 books. And I want to write something more forward-looking. So stay tuned on that.
Great. Please promise us that when you get closer to it, you can come back on the show and share with us. Our audience would really appreciate it.
Yeah. No,
and of course.
Thank you.
So, well, hey,
thank you so much for inviting me on the show. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, and hope the audience likes it as well.
For sure.
Super insightful. Super insightful. Rebecca Fannin, author of The New Tech Titans of China. Check out who's in the book, who's not. That's a very interesting exercise. More probably catch it on Amazon. So congratulations on the book and the update.
Oh, hey, thanks, Ray. Hey, thanks, Bob. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
It's I'm not kidding. I see these videos of EVs produced in China, and they're refined, they're high performance. Again, unique innovation, not just the flash charge, but hand gesture control of the physical entities of the car, and they're a fraction of a cost. I mean, these are luxury vehicles, a fraction of a cost.
They're running $10,000, $5,000. I had a chance to talk to Jameson Greer, the U.S. trade tech representative, and he said, look, I mean, they created the overcapacity. If you don't put tariffs up, you guys won't have industries in any of your countries. And he was explaining why we actually have tariffs because of this. So it's pretty interesting to watch. And you're here and you look at Germany and you look at what's happening in Europe, right? I mean, that's, they're about to get decimated by the Chinese EVs for the same reason. And then you look at the labor costs, right? I mean, a Tesla is still cheaper than a Ford vehicle, but a BYD vehicle can be put together cheaper than a Tesla, right? So you're starting to see the cost curves change. So these are some of those exponential scaling you're seeing in EV development. I mean, it's part of the reason why Apple probably figured out they weren't going to build an EV, right? It was a race to zero. So
for a decade, I've been waiting for the Apple car.
You're still waiting. You're taking orders.
I've seen orders. Rendered designs, and I suspect any space that they get to, they're going to produce.
I don't know. I put my money down for a sports, roadster that I might never see, but that's a different problem.
Oh, okay.
Well, it was ages ago.
Breaking news, because that's the first roadster that I think breaks the 1.9 second 0 to 60. But at a price tag of $240, so it's not inexpensive.
No.
So, okay. Well, Ray, give us that 1 minute summary of your key takeaways from our two exceptional guests, Marcus and Rebecca.
Well, I think when we're talking with Marcus, this whole notion of human agency comes to the heart of, what is the purpose of a human? Like, what is our purpose going forward? And I think we're going to be describing and crafting that story as we go along. But the more we actually work with automation and AI and maybe physical AI, the manifestation of what happens, the more we're going to have to answer, what are we going to be good at and what are machines good at? It may mean that, granted, you might get to the advanced level of math, but you might also have to get to the advanced level of classics to get to the understanding of what humanity is. And so we're going to see more about that, whether they're trade-offs, where we're going to see that in terms of how we actually change experiences, how we learn, right? Maybe we learn through simulation as opposed to the way that we've been doing. The holodeck's going to be back, right? That's where you actually learn by making mistakes without, any kind of consequences other than like you actually improving where you go. And of course, Rebecca, talking about what's happening in China. I mean, that China landscape is a very different landscape. You've seen Xi crack down on the tech titans, then bring them back because he needs them. You've seen those tech titans, create every innovation. It's kind of like a little bit of that Silicon Valley, the TV show joke, where they basically took every American product and created it in China. And you're like, oh my God, it's here. And then they did it even better, right? They took it to the next level. And I think that's what we're seeing, through all these innovations that are going on there. But it's really going to be an interesting battle going forward. You have to choose Team USA or Team China. You can't choose both anymore. And you saw what happened in the Middle East. They went Team USA because they were looking at different kind of opportunities. And you look in the global South, they're going Team China because the cost structure is so much lower. It's some cases 1/10 the cost of Western technology. So that battle is going to continue going forward as we look at the geopolitics and where technology takes us and technology standards as each country tries to, each country is vying for dominance in that space.
And there is an underdog that is not Team USA or Team China, and you actually spent a week in India.
Team India.
And India is producing unicorns at an incredible rate. They're the third country in the world in terms of number of unicorns. The middle class is, a $6+ trillion market. You've got over 1 billion unique users connected to the internet in the next couple of years. I think you're close to about 700 million as we speak, twice the size of the entire population of US. So there is another person in this race, an entity in this race. Give us a 1 minute overview of the week you spent with some incredible titans of the industry in India. And what is your general view of a potential true third superpower that's in the mix?
There's a lot of investment coming back to India, not just talent, not just VCs. There is a future out here. What's interesting is they're delivering at 1/10, 1/100th the cost. And part of the challenge is the fact that they can do that. They can actually scale up markets. But then if they really want to grow, they have to get to the same level of revenues or the exponential side of the revenues that you see in the US and the US markets. And what that ends up doing is it takes away a lot of the startups, making them leave India, coming back to the US to be able to enter markets. But there's a growing realization that their home market and the global South is big enough to sustain these types of innovations. And so, of course, you'll see competitors in software in that space. You'll see hardware manufacturers starting to come into that space. I think the one thing that the country is realizing is they don't have enough power, but they're addressing that as well. They're building SMRs. They're trying to get energy online. They've got gigawatts that they've got to create to be able to get there. But you're starting to see investments like Quantum Valley, where they're putting a quantum computer, an IBM, number 2, second edition quantum machine that's going in there. And that's the heart of some of that research. So massive amounts of talent, massive amounts of capital, lots of opportunity. And as you mentioned, right, this could be the third alternative in this two-way horse race today, but it could be a three-way race going forward.
For sure. And in my company, India represents the second largest country in terms of talent for us. And it's continuing to grow at double-digit compound annual growth rate. So I know.
Yeah, here's a great example. Like, this is in my next book, and yeah, I got to write this.
Oh, another breaking news! Oh, wait a minute!
No breaking news. This is like old news. Got to get this thing out the door. But Boeing is, SpaceX is 1/10 the cost of Boeing in getting a satellite out there, and that's great, But who's 1/10 the cost of SpaceX? The Indian Space Agency. So there, you literally have 1/100th the cost of Boeing, and that's a very unique advantage out there. So you're going to see more innovations like that, whether it's in pharmaceuticals, whether it's in precision manufacturing, whether it's going to be in other areas around quantum, financial services. It's zero to do money-to-money transfers in India, just like it is in Brazil. They created digital public infrastructure that takes them there. So you're going to see those types of innovations come out, and that's really this great conference, India Spora, that M.R. Rangaswamy was putting together. Was kind enough to invite me to be one of his keynotes. So
for those of you watching, yes, it is 3 a.m. and Ray is here because, as Ray said, the show must go on. We appreciate your commitment to the 1,510 interviews we've had since the birth of this show 10 years ago. Next week, for those of you hopefully coming back to tune in, Brian Bryson, Principal Analyst, Technology and Business at MIT Technology Review. Really looking forward to Brian. And someone who I've also been watching for well over a decade, Marcus Buckingham, author of Design Love In, How to Unleash the Most Powerful Force in Business. Yeah, Marcus, Marcus is a global keynote speaker. He speaks at conferences like SHRM and other, global events. So looking forward to Brian and Marcus. We're going to help us with episode 433, Ray. We're inching our way to 500 episodes, I think, by probably this time next year. Anyway, if it's Friday, it's Disrupt TV. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Mr. Wang, for staying up very late to join us. And we'll see you next Friday. Bye, everyone.
Yep. See you guys in the green room.